About a year ago, I worked at a gas station. It never closed and had a little store too. I worked there from noon to midnight. I saw and went through a lot of strange things. Some people acted creepy or said strange things. Some even got mad and threatened me. If I got $1 each time, I'd be rich by now. One night, when I was putting things on the shelves, a regular customer came in. He was a bit strange, like someone who might do drugs and wasn't quite all there. Imagine those people you see in stores, but Australian style. He looked like he was about 50 years old, and you could tell drugs had affected him. He started talking to me, acting all jittery and trying to flirt with me. But I've dealt with these kinds of people before, so I just ignored him mostly. I knew what to do. Don't act like they're not there, but don't encourage them either. This guy kept saying weird stuff, talking about things he wanted to do with me. I just acted like I was listening while I kept working. Finally, I made up an excuse about needing to help my coworker, and he went to make coffee or something. After he left, I had to get more drinks because there weren't enough. But the team working during the day didn't empty the boxes, so I had to carry them to the big trash can at the side of the store. There were no cameras there, and nobody inside could see me. At first, it made me nervous, but eventually, I got used to it. While I was throwing the boxes into the trash can, the creepy guy from before came back. He grabbed my arm, and I tried to act like it was just a joke. But then he got serious and started saying scary things, like he was going to hurt me. I got really scared when he squeezed my arm tighter and said he was going to do bad things to me. When things were getting very scary, a car suddenly came screeching into the gas station. A man jumped out, looking very worried. He ran toward us and yelled at the scary person to let me go. I felt confused, but happy to see someone helping. The new man looked about 30 years old and was wearing regular clothes. He had a serious look in his eyes when he talked to the scary person. The scary person seemed surprised and let me go. Then he walked away. The new man stayed with me to make sure I was okay. One day, a man passing by saw something bad happening. He used to work at a club and knew how to protect himself. He didn't want to ignore the problem, so he stepped in to help me. I was really thankful. After making sure I was okay, he left and I finished my work. Later that night, when I was closing the store and going home, I still felt really energized from what happened. It made me realize that working alone late at night could be dangerous. I decided to be more careful and maybe learn some self-defense too. The days passed without anything big happening, but I felt worried. I couldn't stop thinking about the strange guy I met before. It was like a scary movie, but it really happened to me. Then, about a week later, when I was working at the store like usual, something even weirder happened. It was late and the store was quiet. I was putting stuff on the shelves when I heard the doorbell ring, meaning someone came in. I looked up and got scared. The creepy guy was there again, but this time he had 2 other tough guys with him. They didn't seem friendly. My heart started beating fast when I saw them coming towards me. I panicked and looked for something to protect myself. But suddenly, the door opened again, and the guy who helped me last time came in with his friends. They looked tough and ready to help. 2 groups of people were in a store, and they were really angry at each other. I felt scared, like I was in a movie about bad guys. The creepy guy and his friends seemed like they were going to fight the other group, even though they were outnumbered. They yelled at each other, and I was worried someone would get hurt. But then something unexpected happened. The creepy guy decided to leave without fighting. He said something quietly and left with his friends. I was relieved and surprised. I wanted to say thank you to the guy and his friends, but they were already leaving. I called out to them, but they didn't look back. It seemed like they suddenly came to help me, then vanished fast. As I stood there, trying to understand what just happened, I felt thankful they helped me again. They saved me 2 times now, and I didn't even know their names. It felt weird, but made me see there are still kind people ready to help someone they don't know. After that day, I always watched carefully for strange people at the gas station. I never saw the scary guy or the mysterious stranger again, but I remembered them. It taught me that life can be surprising, and sometimes you get help from unexpected places. A while ago, me and my friend Jake were driving in the middle of America to see his grandparents in Rapid City, South Dakota. We enjoy going on pretty roads, so we didn't stick to the big ones. We drove through the nice fields of South Dakota in the spring. But we were having so much fun that I forgot to see if we had enough gas in the car. All of a sudden, the gas light in the car turned on, and we got scared. We were in the middle of nowhere with no more gas in the tank, and we didn't want to be late to Jake's grandparents' house. They already didn't think much of me, so I didn't want to give them another reason not to like me. We had been driving with almost no gas for a long time when we finally saw what looked like a small town ahead. I don't know the name of the town because there weren't any signs, and later when I checked the map, I couldn't find it marked anywhere. But at that moment, we didn't care about its name. We just wanted to find a gas station. Luckily, we found a place called Pop's Trail Services with one pump for gas. When I stepped out of the car, I saw that the place was very old and not well taken care of. We were happy to find a gas station, but when we looked around, we noticed the town was different. The houses looked broken with windows that were broken and grass that was too long. People were watching us from their porches, not smiling or waving, just staring. It was a bit scary, to be honest. Jake's wife, Emily, whispered to him that she didn't like it, and I agreed. Everyone seemed not nice, and it made us feel worried. When I tried to use the gas pump, it didn't work, and there was nobody around to help. The whole place looked like nobody had used it in a long time. Then, people started coming out of their houses to look at us, and it felt like we were surrounded. Emily said she felt like a bunch of curious rabbits were watching us. It was scary, and I didn't like it. After a while, a guy named Jacob came. He didn't seem happy to see us and asked why we were there. When we said we needed gas, he didn't believe us. He thought we were just city people who thought we were better than everyone else. I tried to explain that we were just passing through, but Jacob didn't want to listen. He told us to leave before things got bad, and that's when I knew we had to go. We got back in the car, and I hoped the engine would start. After some scary moments, the car started and we drove away really fast. We felt scared, and it took us a while to calm down. I still don't understand why the people in that town were unfriendly. I never want to go back there. But then something even stranger happened. As we left the town, we saw something odd in the mirror. It looked like a person waving at us from the side of the road. At first, we thought it was someone from the town, but when we got closer, we saw it wasn't a person at all. There was a really tall and skinny figure we saw while driving. We couldn't see its face because it was dark, but it felt like it was staring at us. We felt scared and confused. Even after we drove past it, we felt like it was following us. Sometimes we'd see it in the mirror, but then it would disappear again. It felt like it was teasing us. We tried to ignore it and focus on getting to our destination, but we couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. We didn't talk much because we were both thinking about what we saw. When we got to Jake's grandparents' house, we felt better because we left the weird town behind. But at night, I felt like something spooky might still be around. When we were in bed, we heard a strange scratching noise outside the window. We got really scared and listened closely as the noise got louder. Then, suddenly, it stopped. We stayed up all night, keeping our ears open for any more weird sounds from the mysterious person outside. Luckily, we didn't hear anything else. The next day, we packed up and left, happy to leave that spooky town for good. As we drove off, I quickly looked back in the car mirror, thinking I might see the strange person waving goodbye. But there was nothing, just the empty road behind us. Until now, I still don't understand what we saw in that town or what was hiding there. But one thing I know for sure, I'll always remember feeling scared that day, and the weird person who seemed to follow us to Jake's grandparents' house. As for going back there, I'll stick to the main roads from now on. I work at a gas station called Speedway in Dayton, Ohio. The area isn't the safest, but the money's okay. I can't afford to find another job even if I wanted to, because it's hard to find something that pays as well. One night around 10 p.m., I was working alone at the cash register. My coworker was in the back, organizing things. It was busy, and I was the only one at the front. so it was hard to watch everyone. There was this guy who seemed a bit suspicious, walking around the gas station for a long time. Most customers come and go quickly, but he kept looking at me, which made me feel uneasy. It's really dangerous here. If I see someone stealing, I shouldn't try to stop them. I should tell the boss instead. This one guy in line seemed risky. I was worried when it was his turn. He asked for cigarettes and beer. He looked drunk and was talking funny. I had to say no to selling him beer, and he got really angry. He quickly grabbed some cigarettes and beer and tried to run away with them. But he didn't go far. He tripped and fell, and more beer fell out of his pants. He was trying to steal those too. Luckily, an older man saw everything. He stopped the thief and got back all the things he was trying to take. They struggled a bit, but the older man eventually let him go after calming him down. Then the bad guy took out a small knife and hurt the older man really badly. Another person jumped in and hit the bad guy in the nose. He fell back, knocked over some candy, and ran away. I had to call the police and take the older man to the hospital. The police took a long time to arrive, more than 30 minutes. After that, there wasn't much they could do. They listened to what happened and said they would try to find the bad guy, but we don't know if they did. It's strange to think someone would do all that just for a few beers and cigarettes. Some people can be very mean. There's this guy at work who sometimes acts really strange. He can be nice one moment and then mean the next, like he's mad but won't say it. Once he said sorry to me for something he did wrong, but another time he even said he wanted to fight me. I'm feeling really stressed at work lately, not just because of him, but also because of other stuff. I think it's making me feel really bad mentally. I think I might need to find a new job soon. Even though I need the money because I'm a single dad and things are tough, I have to think about my well-being. I didn't finish high school, but I'm planning to get my GED soon. Then I want to go to a school where they teach you to be an electrician. I hope doing that will help me make things better for my daughter. My past was a bit of a mess, but now I'm trying to make things better. I worked at the gas station every day, and it felt like the same old stuff over and over again. Same things happening, same people coming by, and same problems. But one night, something unexpected happened. Not many people were around, so it was quiet. I was standing at the cash register, not really paying attention, when I saw someone I recognized. It was the guy who had caused trouble before. I felt worried because I thought there might be more trouble. But instead of causing any problems, he did something surprising. He didn't go for the alcohol or cigarettes, like usual. Instead, he got himself some coffee and came up to me looking a bit embarrassed. He said,
"Hey,"
quietly, and didn't look at me. I felt surprised by how he suddenly acted. Hi?" I said carefully. He seemed uncomfortable, shifting around.
About last time. I'm really sorry. I was not feeling good. I've been trying to fix things since then."
I didn't know what to say. He wasn't being mean like before. He seemed truly sorry.
"I've been talking to someone to help me."
He said, trying to figure things out, and I wanted to say sorry to you in person. I know I did wrong, and I don't expect you to forgive me, but I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better. I blinked in surprise because I didn't expect what happened. It was strange for me because things like this don't usually happen at the gas station. But the way he looked at me made me trust him. I said, "Thank you," because I didn't know what else to say. It meant a lot to me. He nodded, seeming relieved.
"No problem. And, I won't bother you anymore. I just wanted to fix things."
Then he left the gas station, and I stood there feeling shocked. In the following days, I couldn't stop thinking about what happened. It felt like a burden had been lifted off me, knowing that maybe not everyone is bad. A few weeks later, he came back. This time, he didn't act shy or nervous. He walked straight up to me with a determined look.
"Hi, I'm Jack,"
he said, offering his hand. I wasn't sure at first, but then I shook his hand. "I'm Mike." He grinned, a real happy grin.
"I've made some mistakes before. but I'm trying to fix things. I haven't used drugs for a month, and I'm looking for a job. Do you have any job openings?
I was surprised by what he asked. With all that happened before, I didn't think he'd want to work here. But he seemed really determined, and it made me feel like I should give him a chance. "I'll ask the boss," I told him. "I can't promise anything, but I'll try." He smiled and said,
Thanks, Mike. I'll do my best.
Jack didn't do what was wrong. He got a job at the gas station a few weeks later, and he was really good at it. He worked hard, came on time, and didn't cause any problems. As time went by, Jack became an important part of the team. And for me, I started seeing things differently. I used to judge people quickly and think bad things about them. But Jack taught me that people can be different than what you think. They can improve, especially if they get another chance. A few weeks ago, when I was at work, I felt like it was going to be a bad day. I work at a gas station in town. Most nights are normal, but sometimes strange things happen. It was around 9 p.m., and since it's usually quiet, then I decided to check the bathrooms to make sure they were clean. Because I work alone, I usually lock the front door while I do this, so nobody can come in and take anything from the store without me noticing. This time, though, I felt nervous about unlocking the door again. When I came out of the bathroom, I was surprised to see a person standing outside the window, with their face pressed against the glass. I stopped for a second, trying to calm down before opening the door. I thought it might be a customer peeking in because the store was closed. I waved and smiled at them, then opened the door, saying sorry for closing. But they didn't come in. They just stood there, watching me. Even when I invited them in, they didn't move. I got confused and felt nervous. My throat felt dry. So I went back inside the gas station and stood behind the counter. I thought if someone wanted to come in, they would, but they didn't move. They just stayed outside, looking at me through the glass. Another customer came in and asked what they were doing. I said I didn't know, but they had been there for about 20 minutes. The customer said it felt scary in the store. So I offered to walk around and make sure everything was okay. I wanted to ask the person scaring customers to leave. After I helped the customer leave safely, I talked to the person who was still there, staring at me. I politely asked them to leave, but they mumbled something I couldn't hear well. I told them to leave if they weren't buying anything, because other customers were unhappy. They looked surprised and seemed angry. I felt nervous and wanted to lock the door. But suddenly, they understood without saying anything and left. I went back to the gas station and kept working for a few more hours. But I felt uneasy because I kept worrying that I might see that person again in the parking lot. And just before we were about to close, it happened. I saw them again. I peeked at the parking lot to check if I had to do anything with the pumps before closing. That's when I noticed someone. They weren't pressing their face against the window like before. Now they were standing near the door, holding something in their hand. I felt something was wrong, but I didn't have time to do anything. I saw someone rush into the gas station and go to the counter. I tried to call 911, but I wasn't fast enough. The person came to the counter with a small hammer in their hand. They swung it at me, but I moved away just in time. I couldn't move back anymore because the person jumped over the counter and kept swinging the hammer at me. I tried to cover my face, but I got hit on my arms too much. I couldn't keep them up. I wanted to ask why they were hurting me, but I couldn't speak fast enough. They hit me again, and my head felt warm. Then I fainted. When I woke up, I felt confused, and my head hurt. I was on the floor of the gas station. The lights were not very bright, and things looked messy. The store was a mess. Things were thrown around, and the money was gone from the cash register. I was really scared when I felt my head and found something wet and warm. It was blood. Someone had hurt me, taken my things, and left me alone. I was so afraid as I looked for my phone, but it wasn't there. They had taken it, along with everything else I had. I felt really desperate as I tried to stand up and walk to the door. I needed help, and I needed to leave before they came back. I was shaking with fear as I finally made it outside, breathing hard in the chilly night air. As I got to the safe place where cars are parked, I suddenly stopped. In front of me wasn't the person who hurt me, but someone else entirely. It was a woman, looking surprised and worried when she saw what was happening.
Are you okay? I heard noises and... Oh my God, you're bleeding!
She asked, sounding scared. I wanted to talk, to explain what happened, but I couldn't. I just cried and fell into her arms, feeling overwhelmed by everything that happened that night. Time passed quickly as the woman helped me stand up. Her presence made me feel better in the dark. With her help, I went to her car, feeling grateful for the warmth and safety it gave me. As we went to the hospital, I felt really scared. I kept wondering who had hurt me and why. I had so many questions, but no answers. But right then, all I cared about was getting help and forgetting about what happened. The woman with me tried to make me feel better. I closed my eyes, hoping things would get better soon. When I was younger, I used to work at a gas station that was far from the busy part of town. At night, it was very quiet because not many cars came by. Most nights, I was the only one working for a long time. But I didn't mind. I could relax behind the counter and listen to podcasts. One night, around 3 a.m, no cars had come for gas in a while. I was just standing there, not really thinking about anything, when I saw a car slowly drive into the parking lot. Our gas station only had 4 pumps and a small parking area, so it was easy to see when a car arrived. The car stopped between 2 pumps and didn't move. I saw 2 cars in a parking lot. At first, I thought they needed gas, but then another car joined the first one. They stayed there without moving. Later, they rolled down their windows, and I saw they were wearing ski masks. I got scared because they weren't getting gas. They were just talking. Then they got out of their cars and started walking towards the store where I was. As they came closer, I saw one of them reaching for something by his side. I thought it might be a gun, and I got really scared. Without thinking, I quickly ducked and ran to the back of the gas station where the bathrooms were. I went into one of the bathrooms and locked the door. I felt a bit safer because our bathrooms were only for one person, not many. Just as I locked the door, I heard the door to the gas station open. I sat on the floor next to the door, trying to be very quiet. I could hear the men walking around and talking, but I couldn't understand what they were saying. Then I heard things falling over, like they were knocking stuff down. I felt scared because I ran away, but I had to because those guys might have had weapons, and I couldn't fight them. I felt safer hiding in the bathroom than being with them outside. After some time, the noises stopped, and I thought they had gone. I waited for a long time before I opened the bathroom door a little to check. But when I did, I saw both men were still there, and they saw me too. One person was about 30 feet away, and he had his mask up, so I saw him clearly. I closed the door quickly, but I saw them moving closer to me. One of them shouted for me to come out, or they would hurt me. Instead of going out, I grabbed my phone and called the police. I didn't care if they hurt me anymore, because they already knew I was inside. I talked to the police and shouted as loudly as I could to let them know I called. The men stopped asking me to come out, but one of them tried to open the bathroom door. I talked to the police on the phone and they said they were coming to help. I didn't hear the bad guys anymore, but I was scared to open the door. I waited and waited until I heard the police sirens. I only left when I knew it was safe. When I came out, the bad guys were gone, and the gas station was messy. The cash register was broken, and some things were missing or thrown around. I talked to the police for a while, and then I stayed at the gas station for a long time. After watching the security camera video, they found out that the men had guns. Thinking back, it makes me even more scared. But I'm just glad I'm safe. While I was still feeling nervous, I saw something strange on the security footage. Right when the 2 masked men were leaving, another person came out from the dark of the parking lot. It was a woman wearing dark clothes, and she seemed to be watching the men closely. She didn't try to go near them or stop them. Instead, she just watched them from far away. I didn't know why she was there or how she was connected to what was happening. Was she friends with the men wearing masks? Or was she just someone who happened to be there by accident? Even the police watched the videos, but they couldn't figure out who she was. It was like she disappeared as soon as the men left. This surprise made things even scarier and more puzzling. Who was she, and why was she there? I kept thinking about that long after everything was finished. Even though something scary happened, I didn't think about it for too long. I went back to work at the gas station, being extra careful. Time went by, and I started to forget about what happened. But one night, as I was finishing work and closing the gas station, I saw her again. She was standing on the other side of the street, looking dark in the dim light. I didn't know what to do. Should I tell the police? Should I talk to her? Or should I just ignore her and hope she leaves? Before I could decide, she disappeared again, going into the dark without leaving a clue. It felt like she was teasing me by being around and then suddenly disappearing. I felt like she had something to do with what happened that night, but I couldn't understand how or why. As days passed and turned into weeks, I kept checking around, thinking she might be there. I was getting really scared and worried, and I didn't know what to do anymore. One day, something really weird happened to me. I got a letter in the mail, but I didn't know who sent it because there was no name or address on it. I felt scared as I opened it. Inside was just one piece of paper with messy writing on it. It said, "Be careful of the dark. She's always looking." My heart was beating fast as I looked out the window. I thought I might see her standing there, looking back at me with her strong eyes. But there was nobody, just the quiet street with its bright streetlights. I got a letter, but I didn't know who sent it or what it meant. All I knew was that the woman from before was still around, hiding and waiting. After that, I was scared all the time. I never knew when she might come back. No matter how hard I tried to forget, I always remembered her and felt afraid. It made me realize how scary the world can be sometimes. I work at a gas station in a small town in Australia. Sometimes customers are not very nice, but I still enjoy my job. Many people who don't have a place to live or are having a hard time with money come to our station. There's one man who comes a lot and bothers me. When I started working here, my coworkers told me about him. They said he would come in and we'd give him a cup of hot water with sugar. They said he acted a bit strange and swore a lot. But because he didn't have a home, I felt sorry for him, especially when it was cold. So I always gave him his water. There was a person who began hanging around and saying strange things, using bad words a lot. Some of my work friends stopped helping him because he bothered other people, but me and one other friend kept giving him water. I started feeling uneasy when he only came when I was by myself. He never showed up when I wasn't working, so he must have known when I was there. I felt strange about how he stared at me, but because my family believes in being kind and respectful, I didn't want to be mean or tell him to go away. So, this person started saying mean things about how I look and my body. Instead of asking for water like usual, they just wanted to talk to me. They kept coming into the store and only talked to me. It got even scarier when they winked at me and said something weird about being my friend. I felt really scared. So, I decided to stop letting them come in when I was alone. I made sure to lock the doors as soon as everyone else left, but I could still feel them watching me from nearby. Sometimes, I even saw them hiding in alleys or bushes, just staring at me. We got them banned from the place where I work, but they still tried to get in and yelled at me from outside. I called the police every time, but they always managed to run away before the police arrived. For many months, something really scary kept happening to me. I felt afraid all the time, even when I was at home. I had bad dreams about a person who was bothering me. They would bother me a lot, even try to come into where I lived, and I'd see them watching me. The scariest time was when I was outside putting gas in cars, and a coworker told me to come inside because she saw that person nearby. I called the police, but they could only tell that person to stop because there wasn't enough proof yet. But I was really tired of it. I couldn't handle feeling scared every single day, so I quit my job and moved to a place far away, hoping that person wouldn't find me again. For 3 months, everything was calm and I felt safe. But then he came to my new job. I don't know how he found me. Maybe someone from my old job told him. My boss saw how scared I was and kept us safe in her office until the police came. They took him away, but I was still very afraid. Later, I had to tell the court what happened, which was scary. But he said he did it, and I felt better. But I worry he might come back someday when he's free. For now, I'm trying to stay calm and not think about it too much. As time passed, I started feeling less scared. My new job made me feel better, and my coworkers were really nice to me. But just when I started feeling safe, something surprising happened. One busy afternoon at work, I was scanning items and chatting with customers at the cash register. Then, I saw someone I recognized. It was the man who used to scare me so much. My heart raced, and I felt really scared. How did he find me again? I tried to stay calm as he came up to the counter, staring at me with intense eyes.
"We haven't seen each other in a while,"
he said with a mean smile. I felt scared as I scanned his items, wishing I could escape. But before I could speak, he got close and whispered,
"You thought you could leave me behind, didn't you?"
His words made me scared. I panicked, realizing he had followed me here, where I thought I was safe. I tried to look happy as I gave him his money back, but I was really freaking out. How did he find me? And what does he want now? When he left, I knew I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to do something before things got worse. So, I talked to my boss and told her everything. She listened carefully and got really serious.
Don't worry, I'll call the police and tell them what's happening. And we'll do more things to keep you safe.
She said firmly. I felt so much better knowing that I had help. With my boss and coworkers on my side, I felt brave enough to deal with the person following me. We made a plan to keep him away from the store and tell the police if he came back. Time passed, and I started to feel less scared. I focused on my job and felt thankful that things seemed normal again. I even started to believe I could forget about the bad stuff for good. But then something scary happened. One evening when I was closing my store, a person I was afraid of showed up. He wasn't alone this time. He brought some tough-looking friends with him. I felt really scared as they came closer. I tried to find a way to escape. Before I could do anything, they came at me fast, grabbing me from everywhere. I yelled for help, but nobody could hear me because everything was so crazy. I realized I was in big trouble. Then suddenly, I heard someone I knew. It was my boss, with some security guards. They came to help me. With their help, I got away from the people who were attacking me and got to a safe place. When the police came to catch the people who hurt me, I knew the scary situation wasn't finished yet. But even though everything was chaotic and frightening, I felt better because I knew I had people with me. We were all ready to deal with whatever problems came next, and we were determined to finally make my stalker face the consequences for what they did. As I walked on the dark road feeling really cold and uncomfortable, I couldn't stop feeling worried. It wasn't just because it was late and chilly. There was something else making me nervous, like a weird feeling in the air that made me feel uneasy. I felt really bad, and then a truck stopped behind me. The driver, who seemed about 35 years old, rolled down his window and asked if I needed a ride because it was very cold outside. I wasn't sure what to do. My gut feeling said no, but I was so cold that the idea of getting into the warm truck was tempting. Before I could decide, the man drove away and I was left standing there by myself again. I felt better and kept walking, wanting to get home fast. Then, a little while later, I saw the same truck again, but it was going the other way. I felt worried when it stopped next to me once more. The man in the truck looked at me and said,
"Did you not get in because you don't trust me? Is it because of how I look?"
He sounded a bit upset. I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to make him upset, but I also felt uneasy about going in a car with someone I didn't know well, especially when he kept insisting. Before I could speak, he said he could give me a ride home since he was going the same way. Even though I felt unsure, I said yes, hoping it was okay. The man seemed nice, and I really wanted to get warm again. As I got into the truck, I tried not to think too much about feeling worried. The man drove away, and at first, everything was okay. We talked a little while driving on dark streets. I felt safe with the truck's heater keeping us warm. But then, as we got to a quiet part of the road, something scary happened. Suddenly, the man acted differently. His nice smile went away, and he looked serious and cold. I felt really scared because I knew something was very wrong. Suddenly, the man grabbed a gun from under his seat and aimed it at me. I was really scared and confused. I asked him what he was doing, but he just smiled meanly and said I shouldn't have gotten into his truck. He said I'd have to pay for it. I got really scared when I saw how much trouble I was in. I thought this guy was my friend, but now he was saying he'd hurt me. I felt like I had to find a way to get away from him. I looked around quickly and saw a small dirt road next to the big road we were on. Without stopping to think, I opened the door and jumped out of the truck onto the ground, even though the man was yelling at me. I felt really sore, but I got up quickly and ran super fast because I heard gun noises. I was really scared, but I didn't stop running until I got to my safe home. I fell down and breathed heavily. I was so happy to be safe that I cried tears of relief and thanked whoever was looking out for me. In the days after it happened, I couldn't stop feeling really scared. I kept remembering the scary thing that had happened to me, and it made it hard for me to sleep or eat well. I knew I was lucky to get away without getting hurt, but I couldn't stop worrying about the person who had tried to hurt me. I was so scared of seeing them again, always thinking they might be hiding somewhere nearby, waiting to hurt me again. After many weeks passed and the man didn't show up, I started feeling safer again. I started going out cautiously, but as time passed, I felt more confident. I started forgetting about the scary night, but I promised myself to remember what I learned. I trusted someone I didn't know, and it almost got me hurt badly. But in the end, that trust helped me escape from danger. From that day on, I promised myself I'd trust my gut feelings, even if something seems really good. Even though I still feel scared sometimes, I won't let fear control me. I'll think about how strong I am and how I made it through tough times before. No matter what problems come up, I'll figure out how to handle them. I work at a gas station in a tiny town in Louisiana. It's way down in the deep south, so it's not well known. Imagine roads made of dirt with no signs, lots of trees making it dark, and only a few streetlights. Our gas station is in the middle of all that. I usually work overnight. Not a lot goes on at night, just a few customers and sometimes some possums going through the trash cans. One night, everything was normal. I checked the coffee, snacks, and sat behind the counter. It's usually slow. Feeling bored, I walked around to check things. Suddenly, I heard a voice asking if we were open. 2 customers had come in quietly, and I didn't notice because we don't have a bell to alert us when someone enters. After they bought a candy bar and a bottle of water, we talked a bit. They wanted to know how far away the city was. I told them what I always say. It's a few hours away from here. Just go towards the bright lights. I know it sounds silly, but it's what I always say. I told them to be careful because there's a tornado warning, and the rain is getting heavier, especially on the dark roads. When I went to help the next person, they were gone. I thought they left when I wasn't watching. It's okay. They probably just wanted to buy cigarettes or something. After they left, it started raining heavily. Storms happen a lot here, but they always make me nervous. This time was no different. Then, the power went out. There was no backup generator. I tried calling my boss, but it was too late for him to answer. I was sitting in the dark when I heard a quiet noise, like something crunchy. At first, I thought it was just things moving around, but then I heard it again, closer. I felt scared because I knew someone else was in the store. I asked if anyone was there, but nobody answered. The air felt thick, and it felt like someone was watching me. I tried to move quietly towards the sound, pretending to be like a ninja, but it didn't work. Suddenly, I heard a voice saying,
Give me your money.
I was too scared to move. I told the person there was only $250 in the cash register. They didn't say much, just told me to give it to them. I was relieved they didn't do anything worse. After he went away, I called my boss again, and then the police. They said sorry for what happened, but I was just glad I was okay. I left work early, and they closed the store until the next shift. It took me a long time to understand what happened. I couldn't believe it really happened. But then, a few weeks later, they caught a man trying to steal from another gas station nearby. It was the same man from that night. I felt scared when I heard that. This whole experience taught me something important. Even if things seem normal, always be careful. You never know what might happen. But that wasn't the end. A few months later, something strange happened again at the gas station. It was a quiet night, like the one when I met the robber. I was checking the aisles and making sure everything was okay. Suddenly, I heard a soft sound from the back of the store. It was like someone whispering. I got scared and stopped to listen, but then the whispering stopped suddenly. I tried to tell myself it was just my mind playing tricks, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I kept walking around the store, but I felt really scared. Every time the floor made a noise or something moved, I got really jumpy. Then, as I was going back to the front of the store, I heard whispering again. This time, it sounded like it was really close, maybe right behind me. I quickly turned around, my heart beating really fast, but there was no one there, just empty aisles. I tried to tell myself I was just imagining things, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something bad was happening. I quickly went back to the front of the store, making loud footsteps in the quiet. I got my phone and called my boss, hoping he could help. But when he picked up, his voice sounded strange, like he was far away. I tried to tell him what was going on, but he just laughed and said I was probably tired. After I hung up, I felt even more worried. I looked around the store, thinking I might see someone, but it was empty. I tried to work, but I still felt uneasy, like something bad might happen. All of a sudden, the quiet talking stopped. It got really quiet, so quiet it almost hurt my ears. I stopped and listened, but all I could hear was myself breathing. I waited a bit, feeling unsure, then I moved towards the back of the store. My heart was beating really fast, but when I got to where I thought the talking was coming from, there was nothing there, just empty shelves and darkness. I took a deep breath and felt better. Maybe I was just tired and imagining stuff, but I still had a weird feeling inside me. There was this quiet voice in my head, making me feel uneasy, like a ghost following me around. One day, me and my friend Emily planned to go to the diner together. We're both 15 and don't have a car, so we walked. It was still sunny, at 8 p.m. We were having fun, but I felt like something surprising might happen. We got to the diner and sat down. I said I'd pay, but then I saw I only had my credit card, and the diner only took cash. Emily was on her phone, so I asked her to save our seats while I went to get cash from an ATM. I knew there weren't any cash machines nearby, so I decided to quickly run to the gas station down the street. As I ran, I felt a bit scared, like someone might be watching me. But when I looked around, I didn't see anyone. When I got to the gas station, a sweaty bald man who looked about 40 came up behind me. He seemed tired, like he had been following me. I tried not to feel too worried and just focused on finding the ATM. I went into the store next to the gas station. I wanted to use the ATM, but there wasn't one there. I asked the nice cashier if I could get some cash when I bought something. He said yes and smiled, but then he seemed worried and looked behind me. I turned around and saw a bald man outside who looked upset, like he was looking for something or someone. It made me nervous. Cashier talked to me, and I realized he was asking about a bald man nearby. I said no, but I felt worried. The cashier seemed worried too. He told me to wait and see if the bald man left. We waited quietly for a while, but the bald man stayed outside, walking around. I got more and more scared thinking about what could happen. Was he harmless or dangerous? I couldn't wait any longer, so I said thank you to the cashier and left quickly. The bald man moved suddenly, and it scared me. I walked faster, wanting to get away from him as soon as possible. As I walked across the road, I quickly looked back and got really scared when I saw a bald man following me. His eyes were staring at me so hard it made me feel really scared. I felt so scared that I started running as fast as I could to get away from him. Just when I felt like I couldn't run anymore, I heard the cashier telling me to keep running. His words made me run even faster, and my heart was beating really fast. I found Emily at the diner. I was very scared and couldn't catch my breath. Emily was worried when she saw me like that. I told her what had happened. We decided to go home a different way, so we wouldn't have to see the scary man at the gas station. We walked quietly. I couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. It felt like something from a scary movie. Just when I thought the bad stuff was over, I saw something move in the dark. It was like a shadow, and it scared me because it looked like it was following us. I got really scared and held Emily's hand tight, trying to go faster. But no matter how fast we ran, the shadow kept following us, getting closer and closer. I felt really panicked when we turned a corner and saw the man with no hair from the gas station. His eyes were really scary, and I felt a chill down my back when he looked at me. Emily and I ran away quietly. Our feet made noise on the empty roads as we tried to get away from someone chasing us. Even though we ran fast, the bald man always seemed close behind us, like a shadow. We felt really scared as time passed. It felt like we would never get away, but suddenly, we saw a police car coming with its sirens on, and it gave us hope. I felt really happy when the police came out of their car. I was relieved because they were there to help us. They caught the angry, bald man quickly and took him away with handcuffs. Watching him being taken by the police made me feel thankful. I knew we were safe now. When we went back home, I started to forget about what happened earlier. I felt better walking on the streets I knew so well. Even when we left the dark night, I still felt scared that something bad might happen again. When I looked back, I remembered the scary things that happened that night. It made me realize how life is delicate, and there are dangers we can't always see. I'm a 15-year-old working late at a gas station in Sunnyvale, Texas. It's not super fun, but it helps me pay for stuff. Usually, nights are quiet, but one night was different. One evening, everything seemed normal. I started work around 10 p.m. ready to do my usual tasks, like cleaning up and helping customers. When the clock showed 2 a.m., we stopped selling alcohol. I had to lock the doors for an hour to clean and restock without any interruptions. Then something surprising happened. While I was moving cases of soda, I heard loud banging on the doors. It was only 2 a.m. I wondered who could be knocking at this time. I went to the front and saw a big, wild-looking person banging on the doors. They seemed like they could cause problems. I tried to talk to him and said to come back when we were open, but he didn't listen. He kept shouting and hitting the doors. I felt scared, so I went to the back, hoping he would go away. After an hour, I finished my work. I went to unlock the doors, but when I went outside to throw away the trash, I saw him again. He had a baseball bat with him this time. My heart was beating super fast when I let go of the trash bags and moved back slowly. I felt scared because there was no place to escape and nobody nearby to help me. I was all by myself, standing in front of this scary person holding a weapon. Just when I was thinking things couldn't get any scarier, a car drove into the parking lot. It was Ricky, a guy who worked at the grocery store during the night. He must have felt that something was not right because he quickly came over to check what was happening. When Ricky showed up, the person holding the bat got scared and stopped for a bit before going toward the gas station door. Ricky and I looked at each other, not sure what to do next. When the person went into the store, it felt like things were getting more tense. I stayed behind the counter, keeping an eye on them as they walked around. Ricky stayed with me, ready to help if things got bad. That person started acting really strange. They wanted to buy a slushie using food stamps, but I couldn't let them. Then they got super mad and threw the slushie on the ground, making everything messy. I tried to stay calm, but I was getting really annoyed. I told them they had to leave, and I even said I'd call the police if they didn't go. But instead of calming down, they got even angrier and started saying really mean things to me and Ricky. Ricky was brave. He didn't give up. He stood tall and strong, even though there were more of them than him. He wasn't scared. The other guy wanted to hurt us. He grabbed a baseball bat. I was really scared, but Ricky acted fast. In a flash, he quickly moved and took the bat from the other guy's hands. Surprise of what he did made the other guy not ready, so we had the advantage. While Ricky struggled to get the bat, I hurried to lock the doors tightly so the guy couldn't get out. He hit the glass hard, yelling mean things, but we stayed strong and didn't give in. For what seemed like a really long time, we waited nervously for the police to come. Finally, they arrived and caught the guy who had been causing trouble. They knew him already because he had done bad things before. After everything was over, I couldn't stop feeling thankful to Ricky. He was really brave and smart, and he made sure we were safe. I said thank you to him a lot, because I knew he had kept me from getting hurt. But there was one more surprising thing that happened that night. When I was leaving the gas station, still feeling scared from what happened earlier, I saw something shiny in the dark. I went closer slowly and found a secret space under the dumpster. I went into the place and saw a bunch of things that didn't belong there. There were things like phones, fancy jewelry, and even a gun. I realized that the person with the bat wasn't working alone. They were part of a big group doing bad stuff, and they were using the gas station to hide it. I was scared, but also kind of happy that I figured it out. So I called the police and told them what I found. They came quickly and started looking into everything to find out what was going on. That night, when I was going home, I was really surprised by what happened. I was just working at the gas station like I always do, but then things got crazy. I found out there were some bad people doing illegal stuff. But even though it was scary, there were some good things too. Like when my friend Ricky helped me out, and when everyone in the neighborhood came together to help each other. It was a really special night, and it showed me that even when things seem really bad, there's always a chance for things to get better. When I was 15 years old, there was this time when I had to drive a long way from my friend's house in the north to my cousin's place in South Texas. It was really late at night, but I had to go because there was something important going on with my family the next day. Since my parents couldn't take me, I had to drive by myself. I wasn't very excited about it because I had already had a really busy day at school and then had to hurry to my friend's house for some last-minute studying. I drove on Route 281 at night, and it was so quiet, like a ghost town. There weren't many cars, just me and the road. I was really tired from what I did during the day, and starting to drive again was hard. I struggled to keep my eyes open. I drank lots of coffee from different gas stations to stay awake. It felt like I had to stop every few miles for more coffee. One night, I had to stop for coffee and gas 3 times. The last stop was at a gas station on a quiet road. I don't remember its name. Maybe it was Sunoco or Shell. There was only one other car there. I parked near a pump and went inside. Only 2 people were there, the cashier and another guy who couldn't sit still. I went straight to get some coffee. The restless guy warned me about the hot coffee, but I already knew that. Then he left, and I didn't feel like chatting, so I just focused on my coffee. After I bought my coffee and filled up my car with gas, this person came up to me and said they liked my shirt. It was unexpected, and I was starting to feel annoyed. I quickly said thank you and wanted to go. But then they asked where I was going at this late hour. Seriously, it's none of their business. I told them to stop bothering me, but they didn't listen. The cashier, who was an older Hispanic man, didn't seem to notice much. He probably sees all kinds of strange people every day. The person behind me just wouldn't leave me alone. They even told me to relax, but that just made me more frustrated. I left the store without saying anything else and went back to my car. I started putting gas in my car, and I heard footsteps coming closer to me. I looked and saw the same person standing on the other side of where I was putting gas. It was really scary. He wasn't even putting gas in his car. He was just looking at me. Then he asked if I was by myself. That's when things got even scarier. I got really scared and lied, saying my boyfriend was in the car. I quickly got my pepper spray from the middle of the car and held it next to me, trying to act like everything was normal. The person kept coming closer, saying he couldn't see anyone else in the car. I pointed the pepper spray at him, and he finally went away, laughing like it was all a joke. When I finished filling up my car with gas, and the pump stopped making noise, I realized I forgot to get back the money I was owed. But there was a man hanging around between the store and where I was. I had to decide quickly. Should I risk going back inside to get my money and maybe see him again, or just forget about it and leave? I decided to go back in, but I kept my pepper spray in my hand just in case I needed it. When I went back into the store, I told the person working there about the strange man, but I don't think they understood how scared I was. After finally getting my money back and looking outside, I couldn't see the man anywhere. I was really scared that he might be hiding somewhere, waiting to scare or hurt me. Just then, a big truck came into the parking lot. I went quickly to the driver. He was a big man with a beard. I asked him for help because something scary happened. I was really scared as I told him what happened. He didn't understand at first, but then he agreed to check behind my car. And there was this scary guy trying to hide. Truck driver scared him away, and he ran into the dark. The truck driver told me to be careful, and I didn't waste any time leaving. The rest of the drive was really scary, but I got to my cousin's house safely. When I look back, I realized that the scary guy wasn't good, and I was lucky to get away safely. As I kept driving in the dark, I felt scared because of what happened at the gas station earlier. My heart was still thumping fast, but I tried to concentrate on driving. But then, something surprising happened again. After driving for about an hour, I looked in my mirror and saw a car behind me. Its bright headlights were shining in the darkness. At first, I thought it was just another car on the road like mine. But as time went on, I noticed that this car had been following me for a while. It didn't get too close, but it also didn't fall too far behind. My brain was full of different ideas. Was it the strange person from the gas station? Or just someone going the same way? Either way, I couldn't stop feeling like someone was watching me. I tried to concentrate on driving, but every time I looked in the mirror, the car was still there, like a shadow in the dark. When I got to a long road with no other cars, I got really nervous. What if the person in the car was following me to do something bad? What if they were waiting for the right time to hurt me? I held onto the steering wheel tighter, my heart beating fast in my chest. All of a sudden, the car behind me went really fast and got closer to mine. Its bright lights were shining right at me, making me scared. I looked around quickly to find a way to get away, but before I could do anything, the car turned to the side of the road and stopped with a loud noise and lots of dust. I felt scared, but then breathed a sigh of relief because the car didn't hit me. Still, I felt worried as I kept driving. I couldn't stop thinking about what just happened. Why did the car stop like that? It made me feel uneasy. As I kept driving, all I could think about were the strange things that happened earlier. Who was that scary person at the gas station? And why did he pay so much attention to me? And what about the car that followed me? Was it just by chance, or was there something bad going on? I tried really hard to stop thinking about it and focused on driving instead. But no matter how much I tried, I couldn't shake off this feeling that someone was watching me. It felt like there was someone or something hiding in the dark, waiting for a chance to do something bad. And that feeling stayed with me as I drove on and on. As the sun started to rise and the sky got brighter, I got to my cousin's house. My hands were still shaking from what happened last night. I got out of the car and hugged my cousin tight. I was so happy to be safe. Thinking about last night, I wondered if there were other scary things out there, hiding in the dark, ready to surprise someone like me.